Hello, and welcome to Release Readiness Live. I'm Elna Miller, your Release Readiness champion. We are broadcasting from our home studios this week as we bring you some of the new features from the Summer 20 release. After our product managers give the highlights, we'll take some of your questions live and on the air. So we will be monitoring both the Release Readiness Trailblazers community as well as Twitter. So if you do have a question, please post it in one of those places. Use the hashtag Salesforce Live. And if you can ask the question earlier in the webcast, that would be really helpful. If we don't get your question live and on the air, don't worry, we will follow up with you within the next few days. All of our webcasts will be available for later viewing on the Salesforce Live website. Now, we may be talking about the roadmap or making some forward-looking statements. So please make sure that any purchasing decisions you make are based on currently available functionality. Now let's get started with communities and B2B commerce and meet our product managers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gino Matthew. I'm a product manager on Community Cloud product team. I'm very excited to be here today and looking forward to show and demo some of the cool digital experience innovation that we have for you guys in summer.
Given the new pandemic reality we are in today, there is a survival need and customer expectations from businesses to build and deploy mission-critical digital experiences fast. Community Cloud Digital Experience Platform has been at the forefront, delivering this need today for our customers. If you pay attention to our vision slide here, the Digital Experience Platform is built on top of the Salesforce Customer 360 platform, and hence seamlessly integrated with the enterprise customer data, apps, and business processes. At its core, the platform is built with strong security, scale, availability, and accessibility foundation. Next on top, we have our shared horizontal CMS content, experience, and personalization capabilities to build your websites, portals, mobile, and every other digital touchpoint experiences. This makes it easier than ever to deploy mission-critical experiences and business processes fast to market. This Summer 20 release, we have released various new innovations on Community Cloud Digital Experience Platform. Here are the few key themes. At the core foundation, we have enforced new guest security policies and built new SEO enhancements. For CMS content, we have introduced mass content import capabilities, new image and doc content types, and improved B2B commerce integration. We now have standard action override and mobile publisher playground app for site and mobile experience. Personalization features include enhanced APIs and much awaited nav menu and CMS content targeting for personalized audience experience. We have external account hierarchy for portals, a huge value add, and finally, a new announcement around B2B commerce, which my friend Venkat will touch upon later in the session. Starting summer release, images can be managed and stored within CMS. Previously, images were stored as asset files at the org level. We have also introduced two new content types out of the box in CMS, image and document type. This would help content like images be managed and accessed in a consistent way across workspaces and channels within CMS. Also with summer release, you can mass import content such as images, news, or content types into your CMS workspace by uploading a .zip JSON file. Let me jump into a quick demo around images. As a Capricorn Cafe content manager, I would like to use the new image content type to create a new image. If you see my screen, I'm in my CMS Summer Content workspace. Let's go ahead and upload Capricorn Coffee Beans image from my desktop. I could also provide an external image URL reference. On the image content detail page here, I can provide additional information about this image, such as title, alt text, and URL for thumbnail. This looks good. I can save this as a draft and finish by selecting Publish. My new image content is ready for use. Now let's say I want to know where my uploaded image is being used. With this latest release, we have introduced new features such as used by and version history cards. Let me demo this by creating another type of content, such as news with images. Here I will add previously created image, Capricorn coffee beans, to the news content. Save and publish. If I go back to the image and look at the right-hand side of the page, I can see the use by card, which shows me that this image is being used in my news content. You could also see image versions and status as publish. Pretty cool. Let me also show you the new mass import for content this release. For example, if you have images in an existing CMS that you want to move into Salesforce CMS, or if you have references to images that reside in an external digital asset manager, once I have a zip file containing the image metadata in a JSON format, I can select that zip file to be uploaded into my CMS workspace. So if I go on top right-hand side, click on Import Content, select the zip file containing images, I'll go ahead and refresh the screen now. If you see here, I have successfully imported new images into my CMS workspace. Note that for mass import of images, we only support references as of now. This release, we are bringing the Lex functionality action override to communities. You can now override the new and edit standard actions on standard and custom components. Overriding standard action allows you to customize your org lighting components, including completely customizing the way you create and edit records. Let me show you a quick demo for this feature. Today, I will be playing the role of a Capricorn Coffee admin for Industrial Portal. Let's click on the orders and new orders. Here is how the new order creation experience looks like. A new order record UI with numerous record fields. Let's see how I can override the standard action with a lightning component. To turn on action override, let's go to Setup and find the order object. Select Button Links and Actions. Let's override the standard action with a custom lightning component we have built. This is a simple component that implements action override interface and runs a simple lightning flow we have set up in the flow builder. In the lightning experience override section, select lightning component, then select new override component from the dropdown. Click Save. We have made action overrides toggleable per community. Now I would go to the community preferences from Workspace Administration tile and select the new option, Override Standard Action with a Lightning component. Click Save. Now let's test our new order creation experience with Action Override. We have simplified the experience by turning it into a workflow On this next screen, we have pre-filled certain fields for faster workflow. Once we click Next, we have created our new order with a streamlined process. For personalization, if you pay attention to my screen here, we see a snapshot of the reseller experience, which is completely different from that of a partner experience, specifically with nav menu and CMS collection perspective. To conclude, we are able to do this because a long requested feature is finally here. Customers can now use community audiences to target nav menu and CMS content to build personalized digital experiences for sites, portals, and other customer touchpoints.
It was great sharing some of the great experiences and great innovation this summer. Let me hand it over to my friend Fabrice to take it home. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Fabrice Talbot, Product Manager on Community Cloud. Very excited to be back again in the show. And I'm going to talk today about all the latest innovation around self-service, forum, and portals. Without any further ado, let's just dive in. So there's really two highlights for the day. The first one is around external account hierarchy, available in the summer release, GA. And second, we're going to cover the public site security. So first of all, going around external account hierarchy, many of you have been asking for that capabilities for quite some time now. And I'm super excited to bring that to you today. And just to explain how that works, we're going to go through an example of a fictitious company selling through different routes to market. So here that company has a network of resellers in Amer. And typically those resellers might be VAD, MAD, SI, OEM. And as you can see, they're represented as small circles. So those circles are individual portal accounts, might have many users, right? You're pretty familiar with that. This is a standard PRM implementation. Next, that company might be selling in EMEA through a distributor reseller model. In that case, they might be leveraging account relationship that we made available a few releases ago. What it does is really let you share in a very granular fashion records between accounts. So in that example, notice on the top, you see two distributors that are connected to the same resellers. So one distributor could see a set of opportunities with that reseller, when the other one will be a different set. So those are actually the opportunities they're collaborating on together. But really, the new thing coming into summer is the ability to model hierarchies through your channel. So think of that company selling through APAC and maybe in Japan. And this is a franchise model. So they have to go through an actual franchise, right? Think of 7-Eleven, Planet Fitness, this kind of model. And here, using external account hierarchy, they can model all the franchise from the retail store at the bottom. So you have 4. Maybe the regional franchise with some managers, that's the 2 circles here, and the national franchise account at the top. And what's unique here is that any data, maybe case, leads, opportunities created at a lower level is rolling up. So if I'm owner of a franchise at the 3rd level at the bottom, any opportunities available will roll up to the regional level and to the top level, which is a national account. So think of this as the Salesforce user hierarchy extended to your channel. This is very powerful. And again, this is something that many of you have been asking. There's many different use cases, right, to leverage this capability. Not only for franchise, could be for your suppliers, for your dealers. Maybe you have agent brokers in insurance and fins that work that way. So again, a lot of capabilities, and it's all point and click. Finally, another advantage of external account hierarchy is that it can be mix and match with the account relationship. In that example, you see a reseller is presented as a 3-level hierarchy. And notice in the middle, the connection between the 2 accounts. Maybe they need to share some leads or shipping records between these accounts. So this is the benefit of being able to roll up the data, but at the same time, maybe have to be able to implement point-to-point sharing between accounts. So you may wonder, this is great, but how do I set up such hierarchy in Salesforce? Well, the good news is that we are bringing to you a very intuitive interface. We created a Lightning component. You can see it here on the screen. It's called Hierarchy, that lets you visualize and model the parent-child relationship between your portal accounts. So what you see here is CTW hierarchy 220 is your root, and you can just add child accounts. You have different actions available to you. You can also activate the hierarchy, which means you're going to enable roll-up of records. But you can also, if your hierarchy changes, maybe there's a region, East region that becomes inactive, you can deactivate that part of the hierarchy, right? So this is, again, very powerful and all point and click. Obviously, anything we do at Salesforce is API ready. So if you are importing hierarchical data from backend system, such as ERP, MDM, we make it very easy through our API to bring that into Salesforce and create your hierarchy and maybe maintain this hierarchy as they change from such backend system. So we're really excited to bring that GA to all our customers in summer. And please, if you have any feedback, question, contact us on the Trailblazer community, on our community group. We'll be super happy to answer any question and give you any guidance. We understand this is a new feature. You might have questions, and we are here to help. So let's move on to the public site security. And really here, this is a story we've been talking about for a few releases. Remember, back in winter 20, we introduced a new guest user security policy. And it was available as an opt-in, meaning that customers could use that new security approach to secure public sites. And what we're going to do in summer is to auto-enable that security policy in that org. And this is really what we're going to talk about today, the changes that are coming in summer, but also how that policy will be fully enforced by winter 21. So first things first, I wanted to highlight the details of the security policy. So you have a slide here with a lot of content. The gist of it is the following, right? Previously, you could share data with guest user in a public way, right? You didn't really have to create sharing rules, and it was not in a way secure by default, right? And what we're trying to make with the guest security policy is make sure that when you create a site, no data is accessible to guest users. And as an admin, you actually have to create a sharing rule to grant such guest user access to records, leads, case, opportunities, donations, you name it. And remember that each site has a guest user. And that guest user is any user on the internet who can access your public site. So it's, again, very critical that you secure properly your site and access to data. So as I mentioned earlier, in summer 20, we are auto-enabling the guest user security policy. What does it mean? Two things. First, we're going to check the permission secure guest user record access on the left of the screen. And we are also going to automatically check in your org the record owner permission. That's a screenshot on the right here. While we are going to check those permissions automatically, we still let you uncheck it. Right? And you can opt out of that before the release, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But the one call I want to make here is that those two permissions will be enforced in winter 21st, which means that that guest user security policy will become mandatory for all the orgs. So you might not be ready to actually follow our guest user security policy. Maybe you are still testing, doing some work. So how can you buy more time, get out of this, right, for at least a short period of time? So since April, you have a new critical update called Opt Out of a Guest User Security Policy. What it does is very simple. It ensures that we are not going to turn on the two permissions we've seen earlier on the previous slide, and it buys you more time, right? So you can check that, you can activate that CRUD, and as a result, we're not going to touch your org in summer. We're not going to turn on those two permissions. It's available now, you can use it, and if you don't use it after the release and we enable those permissions and something doesn't work as expected, you can still manually uncheck those permissions. So you still remain under control, whatever way. Next, let's discuss the change around guest CRUD access. So as part of this new security policy, we are restricting access, CRUD object access in summer and in winter. We're doing this in two steps. And starting in summer, in essence, we are restricting access to delete, view all, and modify all object permissions on custom objects. What it means is that there's really two scenarios here we're trying to outline in that slide. You could be using some of those permissions. Maybe you installed a package from an ISV, and in that example, AC events, for example. And the AC events custom object is using delete, view all, modify all permission. And if this is the case, one object using at least one of those permissions, we're not going to touch your org, right? So you're safe. Now, moving to the right side of the screen, look at AC events, right? It's not being used, right? And actually, in that example, the idea is that none of the custom objects are using delete, view all, or modify all permissions. In that case, we are just going to remove those permissions, right? Because they are not allowed in the new guest user security model, right? One thing to call out is that this is a bit separate from the updates we just discussed earlier. Now, coming into winter 21, we're going to fully enforce this policy. What it means is that we're going to remove the edit, delete, view all, and modify all permissions on both standard and custom objects. So it's very important that as we go through the changes, you test on all your guest profiles. And a simple way to test it is to uncheck those boxes, right? And just see if things are still working fine. And obviously, many customers might run into some issues or challenges when there might be, the guest user might need to update records, right? Maybe you have a flow where the user filling some information, you can update some fields. And in that case, edit is required. And so we have best practices and workaround to do that. I'm not going to go into details on those today, but I do recommend that you join the Trailblazer community. We have a lot of information about how to handle such use cases. Another change or considerations as part of that new security update is impact on VisualForce email templates. So some of you might be sending emails, confirmation emails as a guest user. So think of, I'm going to a site, I'm going to maybe filling the contact support as a guest user, right, through the Trailblazer site, and I get email confirmation. And maybe that email is running as a guest user in that context, right? And with the new security policy enabled, some of the data retrieved through merge fields might not be available anymore. Right. So to address that issue, we enhanced the VisualForce email template by adding a new attribute called render using system context without sharing, which pretty much is privilege escalation mechanism. It lets you run that template in sysadmin mode and actually retrieve the data as a system admin user, data that is not accessible to your guest user. So again, I do recommend that if you have any VisualForce email templates run as guest user, test those email templates after you enable the new sharing capabilities. And if you need, leverage that new system mode to run your template. Last but not least, a quick call out on the view all users permission. So the view all user permission grants a guest user access to all users. Right? This is obviously not something we want. And since winter 20, we introduced a much better mechanism to grant guest user access to other community users. It's called guest user visibility. Right? And this is really the way to go. And what we're doing here is really saying, listen, view all users is not a perm we want you to use, and we're going to retire that perm. And we're going to do that in 2 steps. First, in summer, we're going to just disable the view all user perms. So if you are using view all users on any of your guest profiles, we're going to uncheck it. You can still check it, right, after the release, but we're going to uncheck it, right? And finally, coming into winter, we're going to fully retire that permission. So you will not see view all users anymore. So again, keep in mind that this is a permission you do not need to grant access, guest user access to other community users. We provide much better mechanisms, and we want you to use that community user visibility approach. So we understand this was a lot to digest in very little time, and we're here to help. And as you go through those changes, we are providing several resources to help you. The first one is our Trailblazer community. So we have a dedicated group that is really relating to all those security changes called Securing Community Cloud. So just go there if you have questions. We also provide a lot of assets that go in very details about things I discussed and much more. There's a lot of links, and we're always there if you have questions. Our team is closely monitoring these questions, making sure that no question remains unanswered. We're here to help. On the other side, we wanted to be transparent about our security policy and the timelines for the change. So we have a page on HNT that summarizes everything we discussed. And finally, in case you need more help, you need to talk to some specialists, we have community office hours every week dedicated just to the guest user security changes. You can sign up from the Security Community Cloud. And we do invite you, if you have any questions, to just join that office hours, and we'll have our experts ready to help you and answer any of your questions. So this is the end. Really exciting again about the change around external account hierarchy, and exciting to see our customers applying the guest security changes to their public sites. And to bring us home and talk about the latest innovation around B2B commerce, I'll hand it over to Venkat.
Thanks, Fabrice. Hi, all. My name is Venkat. I'm with the B2B team and really excited to talk about everything latest with B2B commerce. So let's dive right in. At B2B Commerce, the features you see are tightly aligned with the three themes based on what we have from our customer goals. With speed to market, you can build and deploy storefronts quickly, which has become increasingly relevant for businesses in current pandemic situation. The connected trusted platform enables you to connect commerce with sales, service, marketing, and other channels to provide a single view of the customer. Intelligence drives revenue and orders by expanding on Einstein AI capabilities into commerce. Starting with summer release, customers will have two commerce deployment options: the full-featured, highly extensible B2B managed package that you're familiar with, and new with summer release is B2B Lightning, a template-based experience built on core that is fast to deploy and a rich user experience for buying or reordering simple products. So what's new with B2B Commerce Lightning and why we built this? With a new set of B2B Commerce Lightning components and rich Lightning templates for the entire storefront, you can more seamlessly leverage and integrate with the powerful experience platform features that Gino and Fabrice just talked about, including mobile publisher, CMS integration, and personalization capabilities. Powerful search leveraging Commerce Einstein capabilities and search suggestions, and tying back to our core themes, it is fully built on core standard objects and the Lightning Commerce app with guided setup and management, and a fully configurable checkout with steps that are built on Lightning flows, helping you deploy B2B storefronts even faster. With that, let's dive into the demo. So let us go back to Capricorn Coffee, this time as a B2B commerce Lightning storefront that sells all things coffee. Lauren Boyle owns a small chain of coffee stores, Central Perk Coffee, and today she's logged in to purchase some coffee beans and espresso machines. She sees the main category nav and subcategories. She has the homepage banner, which highlights Capricorn's latest line of espresso machines. Also gets a visual launching point into top categories of products, a window into her past orders with Capricorn, and a quick order pad. She remembers she needs more coffee filters that she buys regularly, so she just enters the SKU and quantity and can directly add that to cart from here. She can also see the promotional banner powered by Salesforce CMS that is offering bulk discounts on coffee beans. Lauren is looking for a new espresso machine, so she looks to search. And right away, she notices the search suggestions powered by Commerce Einstein capabilities based on her recent searches. Search is indexing several fields on the product, including description, and she can see the results and refine the results further with either categories or the faceted filters in the left nav. While Lauren could add any of the products to cart right from here, she can also drill into the PDP page to see more information about the products. Let us take a look at Capricorn 1 espresso machine. On the PDP page, she can see the basic product information, the image gallery giving more views of the product, all coming from Salesforce CMS again. She sees the negotiated price and additional details, including dimensions, product detail, resources, and attachments. This looks good, and she proceeds to add to cart. Lauren is ready to check out. Clicking Proceed to Checkout brings her into checkout flow. Note, as I mentioned earlier, all the checkout steps are built on Lightning flows, which lets developers declaratively build workflows and fully customize any part of the flow to deliver a complex B2B checkout process. Next,
The first step is to collect the account information, including shipping address. Checkout then does the complex processing of Capricorn's external pricing, inventory, tax, and shipping services, and finally presents Lauren with final charges. The last step is her payment method, where she can choose from either a PO or a credit card, both of which are available out of box. And that's it. Her order is now placed. She can click to view all the details or start reorder right now from here if she needs it. Let us now switch to Toby, who is a storefront admin for Capricorn, and how he can use the new B2B Lightning Commerce app to power the experience that Lauren just gone through. This is Toby's central console, giving access to everything he needs to set up and maintain a store. Out of the box, the pre-installed order reports helps Toby track performance of commerce across all storefronts. Being Lightning App Builder enabled, Toby can edit the page and add or replace components to make the homepage his own based on what he needs to track. For each store, Toby has access to dynamic guidance steps, giving real-time status for Toby as he goes through the activation steps. From store homepage, Toby has access to the key entities he needs to manage: products, catalog, price books, search, all of which are leveraging the core objects. In products, let's take a look at Capricorn 1, the same product Lauren looked at before. Toby can manage all the details in Lightning UI with standard and custom fields. On the Media tab, he can add or edit the images directly coming from Salesforce CMS workspace and choose which images should be added as the product detail image or a product list image and attachments. On the Translations tab, Toby can manage all the language translations for the product, including adding any new translations, and he can choose from any of the languages that are available from Salesforce core. On the Related tab, we have key relationships for the product. The entitlement policies determine who can see which products. Categories determine where product is listed. And in price books, it lets you set different prices for the product for different buyer groups. Here, we have different price books uploaded: the standard price book, the retail pricing, and premium pricing. Going back to the store homepage, Toby can click on the search tile to access all search configurations in one place. He can manage search indexes and rebuild indexes manually anytime. He can choose which fields to be searchable and be part of the search index, and define which fields will be part of the left nav as facetable filters for Lauren or not. Within store administration, Toby can configure all store settings from language settings, currencies, and pricing strategy to managing all store buyer groups and associations in one place. Once done, he can export all the settings to migrate from sandbox to production. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at how Commerce App comes together with Experience Builder to create the buyer's shopping experience. Every store is mapped one-on-one to a community experience, and Toby has quick access right from the Commerce App to launch the connected Experience Builder. And out of the box, Toby has access to hundreds of components, both commerce-specific and other DXP and CMS components you've looked at from Gino earlier. Toby can customize the base template by changing themes, styles, and branding. Here we are on the home page, the same one we were looking at it as Lauren Boyle earlier. We see the top level categories and the visual tile menu, and below that is the order history and quick order components. Toby changes the product line items to 7 instead of 5. On this page, you will remember Lauren only saw the bulk discount on coffee beans call to action. Here, we have two different offers, and we are using DXP's audience targeting features that Gino explained about to present them to different customers. In this case, bulk discount on coffee beans is only available to buyers using USD as currency, so we use that rule to assign CMS component to that audience. Experience Builder also designs fully responsive pages out of the box, and Toby can preview how the store would look like on desktop, tablet, and mobile. Moving over to category detail page, Toby can choose to change the results display format as a list instead of grid, depending on what's right for the store, and also customize what product information is presented in each. Now let us look at the PDP for that same product we looked at as Lauren. PDP has several components to give customers the ability to configure how they prefer. Card component gives all the basic information about the product, and Toby can add other additional information by directly leveraging custom fields into the product card. Once Capricorn is happy with the site, the one button publish will update all pages, and then activating the store will make it available to all buyers. Also, building on what Gino mentioned before, now Toby can also leverage the powerful mobile publisher capabilities on DXP to now publish the B2B store as a native mobile app, test it via the Playground app, and publish to the App Store, all with no code. So that's the demo of the new B2B Lightning experience. I'd highly encourage you to explore more of the product with new trailheads and help documentation coming this summer. Going back to deployment options, remember that you still have managed package available for advanced use cases. And please look for the latest release notes for the new version when it comes out for more updates on that.
Let's hand it over to Elna for more Q&A.
All right, so here we are. We're ready. I see lots of great questions already coming in, so we're just going to dive straight in, take as many questions as we can. We're going to start with one from John. Do the assets managed in CMS count against our Salesforce data storage limit? And if yes, how are we going to manage that, seeing that marketing assets can be very large?
Yeah, Elna, so can you repeat that question? Sorry, there was a...
Okay, sure. John was asking if the CMS assets, the CMS managed assets, count against the Salesforce data storage limit, because he's worried that he'll use up a lot of space because the marketing assets are usually quite large.
No, it will not count against the storage.
Right. Good to know. Also, Jonathan was asking, he was saying there was some talk about making it easier to create new content types for CMS. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've introduced two new content types out of the box so that you have a template for creating images and doc types. Definitely that's a value add, and that should help creation with content types.
Right. Also, Candy wanted to just confirm that CMS is it a paid add-on or is it included with Community Cloud?
So today it is free, available with your community's licenses, but as your usage increases, there are paid versions as well.
Do you know roughly what the cutoff point is where you would start to see?
There is, I believe it's the storage. It's the storage that counts, but I can share details around that in the community as to exactly what that number is. But
yeah,
it's based on storage.
If you have an article or something we can point to, that would be good to know. Just
sure.
Kind of where they need to be looking. Andy had a number of questions about the action override. So First of all, can you confirm that this is done with a flow?
Action override, kind of, you can use a component, a Lightning component, and you can trigger a flow. So definitely, if you have flow, you could use the custom Lightning component to trigger that flow and your business processes. Yes.
So if you do use a flow, how can you get that? So you would get that to show up via the Lightning component. Is that
Correct.
what you were saying? So
Correct.
that, I think that answers his next.
Exactly the way I showed it in the demo. Like you created a Lightning component, and then that triggered the process and the flow.
Got it. And then is this available for all objects, just custom objects, or just certain objects?
It's available for both standard and custom.
Great.
Custom, both the objects.
Nice. And then he says, I think you mentioned this, but this is only for new and edit. Does this affect the normal agent experience also?
So from a community's perspective, at this point in time, it's only for new and edit. So yeah, for those two standard actions on custom and standard objects.
Right. Now, Jonathan was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about creating the JSON zip file for mass uploading images and documents to CMS. He says, I'm not too familiar with JSON, so what information would I need to add to the file?
So if you understand JSON structure, it's pretty much key value pairs. And so it's all about, so for summer release, we are supporting mass import for references only. Let's say you have images stored in an external CMS or in your DAM system. You basically enter the URLs part of the value of keys for your images. And then that's how you create that JSON file with those references. And then once you have that, zip it in a zip format and import it into your CMS workspace. Yep.
Thanks. Andy's question is, in the CRUD permissions that are changing, you have edit in a red box with an X. Is that the edit, the one that's being removed for Winter 21 within communities? And if so, how would a community user edit an object record?
So, is this referring to?
I think this is a question for me.
Oh.
Right. So I think it's, thank you, Anna. This question related to a slide I was showing you some red on Guest CRUD permission we are taking out. So as we explained in the slide, we are enforcing a new guest user security policies, which means that your guest users who access public site will have read access to data. In some cases, so what it means also is that in winter, the edit permission on any standard or custom object will go away, right? So customers who are currently maybe using edits, let's say for form or flow for guest users, will need to use Apex without sharing. So I think I mentioned at the end some resources we have on Trailblazer. I do recommend that you check it out. We have some articles that go into details on how you can support edit use case for your guest user. But the short answer is that yes, edit on guest profile on any standard custom object will go away in winter.
Okay. This is from Derek, again, about the new CRUD restrictions on guest users. Where view all is being automatically unchecked, is that going to affect custom objects that originate from objects in an installed package?
No, so I think there's a bit of confusion here. When we say the view all users, this permission is grant a guest user visibility into other users within your org, right? So it has nothing to do with access to objects. It's more access to other users, like the Trailblazer user members, right? And what we're doing, we introduce, as we mentioned, a different mechanism to drive the guest user visibility on a site basis. And we want you to use that approach. So in summer, we are disabling view all users, and we're going to remove that permission in winter. Again, just use the other mechanism to drive visibility. This is actually a much better one. And this is really how we want you to do that.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And then Mark wanted to know, for B2B Commerce Lightning, can you still connect third-party payment modules, such as CyberSource?
Yes, you can. In fact, we are working with a bunch of ISV partners who will be partnering with us. Everything or most of the app exchange applications that you may be familiar with working with the B2B Commerce VisualForce communities, a lot of them will be available with B2B Commerce Lightning as well. They are going through the security review, so we might expect a little delay, but we are expecting that most of them should be available by July, August timeframe. But to answer your question, yes, the model is still the same, and the ISV partners and the app exchange partners can still build and connect with B2B Commerce Lightning.
Great. A question from someone on Twitter, FieldSoft. Are pricing books linked with Sales Cloud? I'm guessing they're asking about the pricing and.
Yes, so the core proposition for B2B Commerce Lightning is the fact that all the entities that you're using, for example, if you're using in the VisualForce communities, you're used to the custom entities like CC price books, whereas with B2B Commerce Lightning, you're using the core entities like Pricebook 2, which is the same that is being used across rest of the Salesforce. So they will be able to leverage that.
Right. Now, Ernesto is interested in doing a sort of like a PTO time off vacation application for internal users. Which solution do you think would work best for that? Would you recommend communities or a Salesforce platform?
So if it's an internal app.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's a thing. Platform would be a approach.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. So let me go back to some questions about CMS. Are you going to add folders to CMS workspaces?
Yes, that would be available in winter. Definitely.
Oh, looking forward to that. People love to organize things.
Yeah. Again, I just want to attach a safe harbor target tag there, but
forward-looking statement.
yes, but we're definitely planning to do that, and we do recognize that's a very much sought out feature.
Great. And then one person was asking about mass importing, but can you just talk a little bit about, can you mass import copies of images or?
Yeah, as I said, like for summer release, we are supporting references. For mass import, you can definitely import individual images, but for mass import, it's references, and safe harbor in winter, we would support for copies as well.
Great. Now, regarding the standard action override, what kind of components can be used as action override components?
Yeah, like it's really Aura. Aura is like Aura components are supported as of today, and if you have LWC components, you would require an Aura wrapper around it. So yeah.
Got it. And do you need to buy a license for the Playground mobile publisher app?
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to go and check out the Playground app. It's a cool app. Once you have your communities created, you can try for free the experience. Excuse me. How the community would show up in a mobile experience. So to answer your question, you don't need to buy a license. You try it out, you like it, and then you go and purchase a license.
Nice. I guess that's why they call it a playground, right? You get to play before you pay.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. So external account hierarchy, a couple of questions on that for Fabrice. Are there any limits we should be aware of?
So currently in the summer release, we are supporting 5-level deep hierarchies. So something to keep in mind. If you need more for your channel or your partners, reach out to us, the Trailblazer community, right? We open to this request. And in terms of number of relationship, there's a very high limit in 100,000 shares. Again, we don't think you'll reach that limit, but if you have a very large channel, it's always good to check out with us, right?
Thanks.
And if I may, when I answered the question on view all users. There's actually 2 view all permissions. I'd like to make a clarification,
okay. Good.
just to be super transparent here. So I did address the view all users that we're going to retire. But when we talk about restriction on object for guest users on the profile, we are removing in summer the view all access and modify all access. So indeed, if a customer or partner like an ISV is relying on view all, right, to grant access, this won't work anymore, right? So we do encourage our ISV specifically to test out the change in guest security policy. It's been out since winter last year. If you have any issue, please contact your PAM. We have specialists who can help you on implementing the right solution.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying that. And in terms of the external account hierarchy, what licenses are supported?
Yes, so we support all role-based licenses within communities, which means we support customer community plus and the partner license and anything above. So if you have basically a role on your license, you can build a hierarchy because it's obviously sharing is driven out of the roles.
All right. Now let's talk a little bit about the public site security changes. The critical update to opt out of the summer 20 auto enablement has passed the activation date. So does that mean if somebody hasn't manually changed it, does that mean it's already activated in their org?
Yeah. So just a bit of context here. We mentioned earlier today that we're going to auto-enable the guest security policy on your production orgs, and we provided a critical update to opt out, right? And that critical update said that it's been active since June this week, I think. And the reason for that is that when we built it, the target release was actually this week to go live on prod. We moved it, but we were unable to change that date. So it's not activated, auto-enabled yet. We are actually going to do that after all the orgs move to summer, right? All the production orgs. So you still have a bit of time, about, I guess, a month.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think it's the first 2 weeks in July.
Yeah.
Would be, yeah.
So we'll wait until we through that, and we'll auto-enable it at once.
Got it. Can I configure guest sharing rules before enabling the new guest security policy in my org?
This is a great question. So why, again, a bit of context here. Previously, you had to enable the new sharing behavior, and then you will create the guest sharing rules to drive record visibility. Right? And we got some feedback from customers telling us, hey, I'd love to create actually the sharing rules first before I actually turn on the sharing behavior. So it's something actually we are pushing in the next couple of weeks as patch. We thought it was very important. So as we go through R1 and R2 in the first 2 weeks of July, you'll have it available, right? So if you, for example, if you opt out of the auto-enablement, you'll be able to actually create your guest sharing rules and then decide yourself when you want to turn on the sharing behavior, right? So we are trying to give you a bit more control here.
Great. Yeah, I know a lot of folks have been worrying about this and wanting more information to make sure that having more control is always helpful, because then they can kind of know what to expect and plan ahead and test, of course, beforehand.
Absolutely.
So one more question about this. Can you explain again the main difference between the guest security auto enablement in summer 20 and the enforcement in winter 21?
Right. So what we're doing in summer is saying there is a new security policy that we're going to turn on your production orgs, right? And as we mentioned, there is a critical update to opt out. You can opt out right now, even before you upgrade to summer, right? So that's kind of opt-out basis in summer. Gotcha. So customers have the choice. Now move to winter. We're going to fully enforce this security policy, which means that you will not be able to opt out anymore. So again, I think that the message here is that we've been discussing that a lot and now, right, in the last few Readiness Live webinars. we want customer to be fully aware that they need to be ready with that. We provided guidance on how to test the org, and winter is really the cut line here, where customers and partners like ASVs need to be ready to support the new sharing model.
And do you have some place in the community where people can go ask questions if they need your guidance or maybe guidance from other experts?
Yeah. So that's a great question. In my last slide on the presentation, I pointed out to our group, Securing Community Cloud. This is really where we have all the experts. We also have a lot of assets to explain to you how to assess the impact on your org, if any, and what you can do if you need to make some changes. And we monitor those discussions on, I would say, on a hourly basis, pretty much, right? We have a full team working on that. So post your question then, we'll make sure that they get answered right away.
Great. So thank you for that, for those clarifications, and definitely check out that group if you want more information. So Venkat, I've got some questions for you now. Mm-hmm. Do I still have access to B2B commerce on VisualForce with managed packages?
Yes. So the important thing to note that is nothing changes with what you already have. Essentially, with summer release, you have a new option. And when the speed to deployment and being on core objects and standard objects is important to you, then we would love for you to start using B2B Commerce Lightning starting the summer release. And there is no additional license to purchase as well. So if you have the B2B Commerce license, you will have access to B2B Commerce Lightning as well, and use that. And at each storefront, let's say you already have 3 storefronts, you can choose to deploy with either the B2B Commerce Classic on VisualForce communities or B2B Commerce on Lightning based on what is the right fit for your use case.
Got it. And are there App Exchange partners available with Lightning?
Yes, like I said, we have a bunch of partners that are coming in July and August. Some examples, I think someone mentioned about the payment integrations, but some of the things that you can also expect is we are working with InRiver for payment integrations, Avalara and Vertex for tax integrations, and you'll also have something like GenCraft for shipping. So you can expect a bunch of App Exchange partners available that can complement what B2B Commerce Lightning will provide out of the box.
Right. And can customers reuse components that they've already built onto B2B Lightning?
Yes, and that's one of the other reason you would choose B2B Commerce Lightning, because it is built on core, and everything that Gino talked about, for example, with CMS and the DXP community platform components, you can leverage all those components into B2B Commerce. In fact, the base template that you have includes already a bunch of components that are already in Partner Central, self-service community, and all that. And on top of it, if you have additional components that you have custom or downloaded from App Exchange, you can also take that and add it into your B2B template.
Great. What reporting functionality is available in the new B2B Lightning out of the box?
Right. For reporting, again, I think I keep going back to the main value prop is that B2B Commerce Lightning is on core. And by default, you get 3 reports that are order-based, including looking at your total orders, looking at your average order volume, all of things that are critical for commerce are available as pre-installed reports with B2B Commerce Lightning. Now, on top of it, you can definitely go through and create your own custom report types that you would generally do. And then you can just take those reports and integrate into your B2B Commerce homepages and app builder layouts and integrate into your core experience as you wish.
Great. And how does CMS integration and licenses work with B2B Lightning?
Yes, again, going back to what Gino just mentioned earlier. So whatever you get by default, right, in your free tier, let's say you're getting 500 content records, those will need not apply directly with B2B commerce, because let's say you're using images and media to associate with your products and category. The images that you create and associate with your product media in commerce will not count against your CMS content record limits, but they'll just go against your file storage limits, right? But the rest of it, I think the key is, again, to understand that everything is directly and seamlessly linked. So if you have your images in the CMS workspaces against whatever CMS licenses and limits are providing to you, nothing changes with B2B commerce, and nothing would definitely not increase your allocations, but you'll be able to leverage all that you have with CMS and tie that in into B2B Commerce Lightning.
Got it. All right, I got one more question here from Jonathan. Is the ability to order a CMS collection by other attributes rather than the last modified date going to be available soon?
Yeah, I need to check on that. We definitely, it's on the roadmap, but timelines is TBD.
Okay, that's
So
okay.
stay tuned.
Good to know. All right, well, that is all the questions we have for today. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thanks to the team for staying and answering all those great questions. Also, continue the conversation in the release readiness community where all trailblazers meet to be release ready.